With the 2019 NBA draft all wrapped up, it's time to look a year in the future at 2020. Next year's draft features a lot of big names and a lot to get excited about, so that's what we're talking about in today's video. So if you guys like my content, make sure you like and subscribe. Let's try to go crazy on the like button for the first time ever, get 10,000 likes on back-to-back videos, and let's hop right into it. Okay guys, first, we're going to look at the projected order for 2020. As you guys saw in the recent draft lottery, not only is it subject to a lot of change by the end of the season, but with the new odds, the order is practically unpredictable. But we're going to do our best for this video, and we're going to go by Las Vegas's projections. And we're going to start that off with the number 1 overall pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Well, they just landed a great draft class, headlined by their 5th overall pick, Darius Garland. It shouldn't have a major impact on their record, and we should expect them to be at the top of the lottery again, with a lot of holes in their roster. While I'm a skeptic, it looks like John Beilein is going to try to make it work with Colin Sexton and Darius Garland in the backcourt together, so I don't have him going Anthony Edwards, but instead, the top big man prospect and number 1 overall player in high school, James Wiseman. Wiseman is an elite athlete with a huge 7'1", 7'6" wingspan frame. We should expect him to be an amazing rim runner and shot blocker. He's a great modern day mobile big that will play above the rim and score at high efficiency. With his size, we can expect him to be a solid defender, and through his young career has shown his shot blocking capabilities and ability to shrink the court with his length and closing out on the perimeter. He can finish at the rim at a high level, but outside of that, he's still a very raw prospect on the offensive side. As of right now, he mainly lives inside, but has shown the signs to eventually play beyond the perimeter. He's honestly a much better Jackson Hayes, who was the 8th overall pick to the Pelicans in the most recent draft. Now, if he was drafted to the Cleveland Cavaliers, he'd be the perfect addition to their 2-guard system. He would be a shot blocker on one end and a roller on the other. It would be a similar role to what we see Clint Capella have on the Houston Rockets. At number 2, we have the Phoenix Suns, who have a plethora of young talent such as Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Mikal Bridges, but without an unexpected big-time free agency signing, we shouldn't expect them to take a big jump record-wise next year, so I have them finally addressing the point guard spot, getting a lethal scorer with basketball in his blood, and Cole Anthony, son of former NBA player Greg Anthony. He was a second-ranked player and number 1 point guard in high school, and is headed to North Carolina this season. He's a certified bucket who led Nike EYBL in scoring, getting 27 a game, shooting 38% from 3 on over 7 attempts. While we know he's a lethal scorer, he's far from a pass-first point guard, averaging more turnovers than assists, and even a cold spell doesn't change his score-first mentality, which could be a problem as the competition level rises. He doesn't have elite size at 6'3" with a wingspan that matches it, so while these concerns could cause other top point guards such as RJ Hampton or Theo Maledon to overtake him as the first point guard off the board, he's going to put up some great numbers at North Carolina next season, so as of right now, I have him as the top point guard in this draft. For the Suns, he could form a lethal backcourt alongside Devin Booker and could be the missing piece they need to get out the bottom of the NBA. At number 3, we've got the Memphis Grizzlies, who are going in the right direction by landing the 2nd overall pick in JimmerRange to pair with their top pick last season in Jaren Jackson Jr. But losing your 2 best players in Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, we shouldn't expect the young duo to bring the Grizzlies anywhere close to the playoffs. And with their pick heading to the Boston Celtics if it's outside the top 6, they will most likely give themselves the best chance to keep that selection, and they got to do that by losing games. But if they were to be at number 3, I'm going to have them go with a 6'4" shooting guard in Anthony Edwards. Edwards is everything you want in a modern guard prospect. He's an elite athlete that will fly above the rim, but his offensive skill set goes so much farther than that. He consistently gives defenders nightmares from every inch of the court. This is paired alongside great length at a 6'9" wingspan, which makes him an amazing 2-way prospect going into the NBA. He's going to have the keys to the offense at Georgia next year, and it's going to be exciting to see what he does. It doesn't get much better than Anthony Edwards in terms of a prospect, and depending on how this draft order pans out, we could easily see him as the number 1 overall selection in 2020. Now, if he happens to land in the lap of the Memphis Grizzlies, he would make for an exciting and explosive pairing alongside Ja Morant. At number 4, we have the Washington Wizards. The once bright future for the Wizards has taken a big turn with John Wall's Achilles injury, and with them possibly trading their most valuable asset in Bradley Beal sometime this summer, we will most likely see a top pick in the hands of the Wizards. With the current and future health concerns of John Wall, I have them going with a 6'5" point guard in RJ Hampton. He's a great mix of playmaking and scoring, and is currently the 5th ranked player and number 2 point guard in high school. While there are some concerns including filling out his frame and decision making, his skill set and size at his position should make him a top pick next year, but the one thing that could really affect his draft stock would be where he's playing. As you might have heard, he's going straight to the pros, playing in Australia for the New Zealand Breakers. We've seen top recruits go there in the past, such as Terrence Ferguson, who didn't really have a big role but still managed to become a 1st round selection. So if RJ Hampton doesn't have the chance to show his full skill set or potential, we could easily see him slip on the board, but for right now, I have him number 4 to the Washington Wizards. Next, we got the 5th overall pick, which is going to be in the hands of the Chicago Bulls. They're an interesting team, as I can see them taking a big jump to competing for a playoff spot, but for right now, Vegas has them as the projected 5th worst team in the league, with the Bulls addressing their biggest hole at the point guard spot in the 2019 NBA draft, going out and getting Kobe White. I'm going to have them take a wing in the first foreign prospect off the board in Deni Avdija. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he's not a once-in-a-generation international prospect like we saw with Luka Doncic, who won the EuroLeague MVP at 18 years old, and Deni hasn't had a big role for his professional team in Israel, but has shined in the FIBA Cups playing against his age range. At 6'8" with a fluid game, tight handle, and smooth shooting stroke, scouts are excited about his potential, and if he were to go to Chicago, I think he'd be a great wing addition to their already great young core. At number 6, we have the New York Knicks. Well, at one point this season, it looked like the Knicks were going to be the top free agency destination, potentially landing Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and now it looks like they'll probably strike out and be at the top of the lottery again. Now, as far as who they could take, I could see them going with a point guard like Theo Maledon, but with them possibly addressing that point guard spot sometime this summer, and a solid young player already there at that position in Dennis Smith Jr., I got them taking Jaden McDaniels. This puts McDaniels a lot higher than he is on most mocks, but in my opinion, he could even jump up to a top 3 pick by the time the draft comes around. He is the size for his current listed power forward position at 6'11", but he has a skill set more comparable to a wing. I think alongside Kevin Knox, it would give them a lot of options going into the future, while neither has the physicality to thrive at the power forward spot. In today's league, where they're constantly running quote-unquote small ball, I think the duo has more than enough size for David Fizdale to make it work. McDaniels is amazing in transition and uses his size well going at the basket, but what gets everyone excited is his ability to handle the ball and comfort playing at the perimeter, including knocking down off-dribble jumpers. It's only going to take him shooting 35% from 3 for everyone to praise him as the next Kevin Durant. He's going to Washington next year, so he's going to have no problem getting the ball in his hands, and I think he'll ultimately become a top pick next year. Next, we have the Atlanta Hawks, who are dealing with an amazing young core and could take a big jump this season, similar to what we saw the Kings do last year, but for right now are projected at number 7. If they were to land this high of a pick, I don't love them making a selection, but instead adding some veteran talent. I don't feel comfortable with another center going this high in the draft. They could go with a point guard to run the second unit due to the strength at that position this year, but I don't really see them doing that, so I'm going to have them take a 6'5" wing in Scotty Lewis. If he had a consistent jumper, he could be a top 3 pick in this draft. He's an explosive athlete with amazing potential on the defensive end, coming in with a 6'11" wingspan and great lateral quickness, but he still has a lot to prove at Florida next season. He needs to show more polish on the offensive side, but as of right now, it's hard not to think of him as a top pick next year. At number 8, we've got the New Orleans Pelicans, who just landed the number 1 overall selection in Zion Williamson, but lost a top 10 player in Anthony Davis, so no one should be expecting him not to be a lottery team next year. This pick might be slightly controversial, and that's going to be Lamelo Ball. Half the field believes he isn't even a top 20 pick, and the other half thinks he should be the number 1 overall selection. But at the end of the day, we are talking about a 6'8", natural-born scoring point guard whose growth as a player is way too much to ignore. He showed willingness and skill as a passer this season at Spire, and will be joining RJ Hampton in the NBL next year, and while he might not have a big role, he has the opportunity to improve as an athlete, and at the end of the day, it's simple. It's a 6'8" point guard who can score anywhere on the court and has no problem getting teammates involved. Now, there are a lot of factors that could cause him to fall, some of which have nothing to do with him individually, but oh boy, would it be exciting to see him in New Orleans. Because of what his brother can do as a defender, I think they could work in the backcourt, and with Zion Williamson, they could form one of the biggest box office trios in the whole entire NBA for one of the smallest markets in New Orleans. Next, we got the Hornets, who aren't in a great position right now with the questionable future of Kemba Walker, so I think having them at 9 is pretty safe. Speaking of Kemba Walker's future, I have them going with a point guard and Theo Maledon. Even if Kemba does re-sign, right now he's 29 years old, and the class is dominated by amazing point guards, which makes it really hard for them to go elsewhere. Maledon is a foreign prospect who thrives in space, has a smooth jumper that shows a lot of promise, has ideal size at 6'5" with a 6'8" wingspan, and a lot of untapped potential, as he will be just turning 19 at the time of the draft, and we should see him be a top selection next year. For the last pick of the video, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves at number 10. The Timberwolves have some solid young pieces in Karl Anthony Towns and Jarrett Culver, but in a tough West that could be getting tougher, it's hard to imagine them not in the lottery next season. In the 2019 NBA draft, we saw them trade up to the 6th pick in hopes of getting a point guard in Darius Garland, but missed out and settled for a great two-way prospect in Jarrett Culver. So in 2020, I now have them going after a point guard in Nico Mannion. Similar to Cole Anthony, Nico isn't coming in with ideal size or an extremely well-rounded game, but is a lethal scorer who can live at the perimeter or take it in with his insane bounce. It should be no surprise if he puts up some crazy numbers at Arizona next season. Having him at the point, Culver and Covington on the wings, and Karl Anthony Towns down below they will definitely be going in the right direction as they're stuck with some pretty bad contracts, including paying Andrew Wiggins $30 million till 2023. But that's the end of you guys. You guys give me your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe, and the shoutouts are gonna be MKH Kings, The Dot, QB7 Sports, Heath Lunsford, and Darius Gabriel. If you guys want to shout out in the next video, all you gotta do is like the video and comment liked or rep notification gang, and I'll shout 5 of you guys out. With all that being said, hope you guys have a great day, and peace.